Hello everybody, welcome back to Tiny Tiger Collective. I'm Helena and I make videos on stationery, journaling and fountain pens on this channel. 2025 has been my year of experimentation in keeping multiple journals of all the most important areas of my life. I'm currently finishing off a Spring Start Hobonichi Cousin where I do all of my long-form journaling and tracking the mix of personal and work tasks in my life. Adding to the mix in the new year has been 2 Hobonichi weeks. This was my first time using Hobonichi weeks, and I have one for keeping track of everything to do with my work and career. I work full-time as an academic. And I've also got a Hobonichi Weeks that I keep for all of my health and wellness tracking. My favorite item of 2025 though has to be this Hobonichi A6 Original Techo in Keiko Shibata's Bus Management for Mr. and Mrs. Inoue. This is the book that I'm keeping as a daily journal for my son. Today, I'm sharing with you my experiences in the first month writing within this A6 daily journal. I hope to show you a little bit behind the scenes of how I managed to keep this journal alongside all of my work and family commitments, and how I manage and juggle the time constraints while keeping a daily journal. I have to admit, the year was off to a bit of a rough start. I actually didn't realize that we were even in 2025. I was literally looking at the corner of my desk where I had this book waiting to be started in the new year. And I was thinking to myself, like the thought literally popped into my head of, I better not forget to start journaling in the baby book in a few days. And then I realized, oh crap, it's already the 6th of January. I've missed nearly a full week in this book. But one of the things that I've learned as a mother in these last 2.5 years is to really give myself grace and always exercise compassion whenever I can, that yes, some things are just going to be left behind, that I will be disorganized because I'm human, and that's okay. This is not about keeping some perfectly kept archival record that will last for generations to come. It's really just my way of expressing and celebrating my love for my family, my love for my baby, and also my growing confidence as a mother. I have been exclusively using this Sailor Meigetsu Progeus Slim in this journal, and I have it inked up with J. Eban Rouge d'Encre. Inside the cover, I've kept a couple of little stickers of this little kid. And I have the artist's card from Keiko Shibata. That's so cute. And I've also written a little note to my son that I've kept in this mini letter set and sealed it with this teddy bear sticker. So this is the year at a glance with the 3 calendars of 2025 and last year and next year. I don't currently have any blotting paper for my journal spreads, but what I'll do is I'll literally have a scrap piece of paper. This one is an A5 that I folded in half so that it fits within the A6 pages. So if I'm flipping through pages, I'll be able to stick this in rather than wait for the ink to dry. This is the yearly index, and I've used my yearly index in my Hobonichis in different ways. So in the past, I've experimented with using this as a table of contents because I'll find that the kind of line across, the row across, is just about big enough to write 4 to 5 keywords about what happened during that day. So it will be just enough to jog my memory. Like, let's say, like, birthday dinner, or Charlie's party, or something like that, that will just tell me sort of at a glance what happened that day. I find it that very hard to keep up with. I typically don't have the time, in addition to keeping up to date in all my planners and journals. And as you see this year, I have way too many that I have any business keeping. So I don't really have the time to sort of sit back and do the administrative work of filling out a contents page. And so as sensible as that idea is, and as functional as it would be to have a table of contents at the start of all of my daily journals, I just don't have the time in this season of my life to keep up with that kind of work. So what I've decided to use this yearly index for in this year's book for my baby, I call it a baby book. I know he's a toddler now, so my toddler book is, I have here a column for my son for H, meaning when he stays home, and mummy and daddy. And what I'm tracking here are the times where we're getting sick. My son started daycare in this time last year. So he's been at daycare for a full year now, and he's there currently full time, so 5 days a week. And those of you who have kids in daycare, at nursery, at school, you'll know that they are plague bearers. My son brings back all manner of illnesses, including illnesses that I didn't even know existed, okay? He's had hand, foot, and mouth 3 times. And I literally had to Google, what the heck is hand, foot, and mouth? Like, it just seems like a bizarre 19th century plague. And so here I will make a note of when my son gets sick, when the illness is so bad that he needs to stay home. He's also had, very fortunately, a habit last year of getting sick Friday night and then literally getting better Sunday. So we'll have a miserable weekend together when we otherwise plan to have fun trips to the zoo, to the museum, and we'll just end up at home with a vomiting baby for 2 days. But then come Monday, when it's time to go back to work, he's all better and he's off to daycare as if nothing happened. So I make a note of when we have had to keep him home. So usually when either my partner or myself had to take a sick day or a carer's leave in order to look after him. And then when he's gotten either or both of us sick, this is where I keep records of that as well. I didn't have a baby book last year between April and December, so I missed out on some of the worst seasons of illnesses. But I just think in a few years' time, it's going to be so enlightening and amusing for us to look back and see how many times we've gotten sick. So this yearly index began in December last year, and so you'll see he's already gotten sick once a month so far. We're in January, so let's see. The only thing with this index is that it doesn't allow me to indicate what type of illness it is, because it is a big difference when he has, a very intense fever, like when he's had COVID and he's fatigued, he's in pain, he's crying, he is like up through the night. And then also the times where he's got a little bit of a runny nose for 2 days and no other symptoms, and he's happy, he's eating well, he's drinking well. So like the experience is actually, quite significantly different, but I don't have a way of indicating that here. Except by kind of at a glance seeing how long he was sick for and whether or not he had to stay at home. So that's something that, like in the daily pages, I'll be able to elaborate a little bit more on, should I wish to have, detailed records of all of his illnesses. Sometimes you wonder if it's better to forget it all. So I do have a monthly spread here where I'm not really putting a lot of effort in these pages. Again, like if I wanted to do like really detailed, elaborate drawings and, records of what he's been up to. I mean, I would really have to, like, I don't know, drop down to part-time work in order to keep up a journal. And that doesn't seem wise. So what I've got here is I've got these little washi stickers that I picked up in Japan last year. And I'll put them over the days where we have public holidays. Now, Hobonichi is a Japanese brand, and they list when Japan has public holidays, right? Like here, all the things in red are typically Japanese public holidays, and they don't always correspond with the holidays that we have in Australia. And so I'll note down when our public holidays are, and I'll make a note along with other kind of important personal events like me and my partner's birthday, my son's birthday, so on and so forth. So this isn't something that I spend a lot of time in, but I will mark down those kind of like big events. So where really a lot of the journaling happens in this book is in the daily pages. So in Hobonichi's, there's kind of a double page spread, turning the page to a new year. I never really know what to do with these. And again, I'm in a season of my life where I don't have the time to do very elaborate collages, but I'm showing this very scrappy page to you to give you an example of how I approach these pages. So I'm perfectly happy to keep this blank at the end of the year, but I did find that when I first got this book, I was really excited to do something with it. So I put in these lovely little duck stickers that I picked up while I was in Japan. One of my son's favorite songs, one of like nursery rhymes, is the Five Little Ducks, and duck was actually his favorite word. I think that's how much he loved that song. So I've actually got little stickers of ducks and that I stuck this in. And then later I had a little package from when I picked up some charms from Asakusa Temple. And so I've also decided to, rather than throw the little pouch away, I've cut up where there was a seal, where there was the note about Asakusa Shrine. So I've just pasted them in. And I actually approach it a bit like bricolage. So I might find something else, right? I always keep a store of little ephemera, or we go out somewhere fun, I might stick the business card of the restaurant that we went to, or the particular place that we visited, and I'll stick them in my bag. And at the end of the week, I'll pull out usually from the bottom of my bag, usually with a few food crumbs over it, but I'll pull out a pile of stickers, of receipts, of brochures, of lots and lots of different things, and I'll pull them out and see, is there anything that I could cut up? Is there anything that I could paste in, tip in? And by the end of the year, it might actually look like quite a full collage, but you would be fooled into thinking that like I sat down and had 3 hours to do a beautiful spread. But instead, there was actually maybe over the course of 12 months, maybe even more, where I just put in 1 or 2 things at a time. I've got these beautiful tiger flake stickers and a tiger washi stickers. This is from Joanne of Koala Tea Care. I've mentioned her many, many times on this channel, and I will put links to her Etsy store in the description. She is such a lovely person and sells wonderful, sweet Japanese stickers on her store. But when I purchased a collection of tiger stickers, and I happened to mention in the comments that I was buying them for my son who's born in the year of the tiger, she included lots and lots of freebies with my order. That was just beyond generous, and it's one of the reasons why I'm able to have a few cute spreads, because I don't have the time to do drawings and more elaborate decorating, but I always have the time to pull out a cute sticker and slap that on to the pages. Okay. So start off the new year, couple days behind, as I mentioned. But we had a beautiful day out on New Year's Day where we went to a local national park and we did a very, very small, accessible hike. And my son doesn't like walking. He really, really loves being carried, which is becoming increasingly difficult with every passing month as he gets bigger and he gets heavier. And so this was a trip in which we encouraged him to walk. And he loved the forest. And so we said, look, you're going to have to be a big boy. You're going to have to walk. And he did really, really well. I have so many cute videos of him running and walking across the bridge and admiring the rushing brooks. And so that was a photograph that I took while we were on one of the bridges. So what I would typically do when I open up my baby book is I try to at least have, even if it's 2 minutes every day or two, I'll quickly duck in and I'll write down the particular everyday events that happened. So with the Hobonichi A6 original Techo, on the left-hand side, you have this column that is also marked by the hours of the day, starting from 6 a.m. to 3 a.m. with little dot markers in between for the hours. And so roughly aligning with that time, I'll write usually when he woke up, when he napped, and when he went to bed. And any other kind of big things, like let's say he goes on a play date between 3 and 5, I'll write it in there. It's obviously not perfect because sometimes it does take me several rows to write what he did at that particular time. And then by then it kind of covers up the next time slot where he did something. So on those kind of busy days where we did many, many things only for an hour or two, it doesn't line up perfectly. But again, this is not about perfection. This is about celebrating our family life and capturing really precious, treasured memories while enjoying the process. That's also when I will come across days where if it's been, like a week or so since I've been able to journal, I'll come back and I'll literally have no memories of what happened on those days and I don't know what to include. So when that happens, I do have a few resources that I can use as references to jog my memory about what to write about. So one of the things that I have kept since 2019 is every single day, I use the Day One app on my phone to write down a gratitude log. So I'll write at least 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. That's very accessible for me to keep because it usually takes me no longer than 10 minutes to write 3 things. And I'll generally write one thing at a time in between all of my daily tasks. So whether it is waiting in line at a store or if I'm teaching, for example, sometimes I give my students a activity where they need to spend 20 minutes discussing at their table. And that gives me a little bit of time if there aren't any questions or other pressing admin for me to do. I'll be able to quickly whip out that journal and write a couple of things. So I usually steal little moments throughout the day. And obviously right before I go to bed at night, that's also another really popular time that I like to pull out the phone and just, make sure I've got all 3 things. That is my first go-to app to see if there are any things that jog my memory about what happened pertaining to our family life. Most days, at least one thing that I'm grateful for relates to my son and my family. So that will be often a great way for me to see, oh, that's right, he said that really funny thing and it made me laugh. Or, oh, we went to that new restaurant together that we tried out and it was so delicious. And then that might then jog my memory for, oh, right, I remember, right? Here we went to an Indian restaurant for dinner and my son absolutely loved the mango lassi. And and I let him have one sip from my glass, but then he ended up drinking half the glass along with it. So that would be something that then I could journal about. Now, there are also, realistically speaking, there are days where I don't write anything in my gratitude journal pertaining to what happened with my son. And in those cases, first thing I'll check would be the photos on my phone. So I'll see if there was anything that I captured that reminds me of something we did together. I'll also look at my online digital calendar. Sometimes in there, I'll have a note about, yes, the restaurant that I went to or some play day that we had, and that might be really helpful in terms of reminding me what happened. There are also then days where I can't find anything about what happened on my phone, in my calendar, right, in the photos. And so on those days, I'm really not afraid to either leave it blank, leave it as overflow. So for example, lots and lots of things happened on this date. And so I can put the photograph of what happened on this date over here on this side. Sometimes I'll write an arrow and I'll just continue journaling about that really fun thing and I'll write about it here. Other times when I'm not able to do that, what I might do is actually write about some development in my son's life that's not tied to a particular day. So it might be, during this week in general, my son's sleep has changed a lot, right? So for example, he's started sleeping in a lot, which is very welcome for us. In the early part of last year, my son would every day wake up at 5 a.m. And he would then also go through seasons, particularly if he was sick, he was unwell, he was going through some sort of growth spurt or something. He would wake up at 4:30. And that was brutal. It was very, very difficult for us. And we had to quickly learn to adjust. And sometimes it meant that we would just go to bed at 9 a.m. In preparation for another early morning rise. And because he was, doing this, we established this pattern. We both became early morning people. But then this year, my son has started sleeping in to 6:15, 6:30. Some days he's astounded us all and woken up at 7. And we just think, like, is he still alive? Like, I have to go and check that he's breathing and go, oh, thank goodness. So these things happen, but they're not tied to any particular day. He might go through a week where his favorite book is some new book we bought him and he wants to read it 3 times a day. It could be that he's all of a sudden getting into a toy. So right now, my son's going through a phase where he also loves trains. And he's making up new games for his trains where he gets me to pretend that we're waiting at the train station together. And he'll grab one of our empty suitcases from the wardrobe and he'll carry it and he'll tell me, Mummy, I've packed this full of snacks. And I'll say, oh, can I have a snack? And he'll say, no, we need to wait till we get on the train. And we just sit on one of his playmats and we wait together for the train to come. So that's been a game that he's been playing. And again, it's not necessarily important that I say, oh, on January the 10th at 9 a.m., we play the train game, right? It's not necessarily tied to a particular day. And it might be a game that we've played 5 days that week. So where I have a blank page, that will be where I say, hey, lately, this is something that you've been doing. And again, I'm really not afraid when the only things that I can think of or write about take up only half the page and there's some blank space, because I have plenty of beautiful stickers or Instax photographs to tip in that I can then use to fill out the space if I really wanted to. So this is what a kind of realistic flip through of my baby book looks like. And I will show you examples of where I've gone in to fill things out. So I've got maybe about 20 minutes left in my day. And this is a wonderful opportunity where I'm able to duck in and write a little entry about something that I remember that's been going on. All right, that's one page done. And that took me maybe around, no more than 10 minutes, I'd say. And some spreads are just easy because I have a very clear memory of what we got up to that day. So on this day, we went on a day trip to Brisbane to get some yummy Vietnamese food. And so with the memories fresh in my mind, I'm able to really just express them all down on the page. And an A6 size means that I'm not really sort of struggling to come up with more things to talk about. And my hands don't get fatigued so easily writing out this much information either. So it really, does only take, let's say, like 10, 20 minutes here and there in order to keep up to date in this book. But you'll see I have a lot to go. And so I will continue journaling when I'm not filming myself and I can get a little bit more comfortable and up close with my book, lean over, take my time, and not worry that my head is going to be blocking your view. Before I wrap up this video, I wanted to just share a particularly vulnerable note to say that I know that on this channel, I share examples of where I've kept these rich records for my baby to write daily journals or to write beautiful collage spreads about the memories of how he came into our lives. But I want to say that this is because journaling, collaging, writing is a really important hobby of mine and something that has always helped center and ground me and nourish my mind and my heart. And when I had my son, it was a really tumultuous time of my life. The pregnancy was a surprise. I had accepted a new job offer interstate and sold our house, bought a new house, moved across the country, and all while finding out that I was going to become a mum. And I had a really difficult adjustment period, experiencing postnatal depression and anxiety. And stationery, journaling, spending this tactile time with my pens and paper and beautiful stickers was one way in which I was able to re-find myself again and heal. I want to highlight that in our patriarchal society, I know that there are 10,001 ways that culture is used to shame and subjugate women, whether we are mothers or not. And often that is a part of the subjugation, right? You're shamed for not having children, for having too many children. You just can't win. And I want to acknowledge that there might be some people who watch this who feel that sense of guilt or shame around, I'm not keeping daily journals of my children. I don't have something like this that I can eventually pass on. And so this shouldn't have to be said, but I will say it anyway. It doesn't make me a better mother because I keep baby journals. It doesn't make me a better mother because I've kept daily or near daily records of the first 2 years of my son's life. This is just something that I do because it heals my heart, because it makes me feel more myself. I do plenty of things that don't relate to my family, to my son, to my partner. I have a flourishing career that I absolutely adore. I have hobbies, like I love playing video games. I spend half my life on YouTube. There's so many things that I love that doesn't have to do with my son, that isn't about spending every waking moment with my son. And when I'm not with my son, I'm journaling about my son. I don't want to give that impression that that's what a mother should do. And so I want to acknowledge that if you love stationery journals, but you don't keep any journals for your children, that's okay as well, because we need to do things for ourselves so that we can show up, be a better mother, partner, friend, sister, neighbor. And it shouldn't be about the things that we need to do in order to prove ourselves as good mothers. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you join this community, subscribe to my channel, and share your experiences with how stationery fits into your life. If you have children, do you keep any journals or any memory keepers about your children? And if you don't have children, do you do any kind of journaling about your pets or your plants or, everything else that's happening in your no doubt, rich and full lives? I would really love to know and hear your experiences. Thank you so much for being here and for following me in my relatively new journey as a YouTuber. I hope to see you in the next video. And I wish you a very, very restorative and restful week until then. Take care and bye-bye.